Okay, I am super excited. Hello out there to everybody in the social media world, digital landscape, all of that kind of good stuff. I am here with my good friend, Melody Gross, who has just who has just started off this incredible project, this incredible initiative to help Black women. So that's why I'm here and totally excited to talk about it. Melody, welcome. I feel like I should say welcome to the stage or welcome to the Jamaica Witten show, but it's not really a show. It's just us sitting here and chatting about something super important. And to set the scene, y'all, today is December 1st. It is Giving Tuesday. So we are talking about giving back and specifically want to talk about you and the Eva Lee Parker Fund.
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. So, when you came with this idea, it's funny because it was kind of like something I was thinking of, but I didn't know what that was going to look like. And then it's like, here's Jamaica. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So it was right on time and perfect. So thank you.
Of course, we're always on similar wavelengths,
right.
Gotta do it. But, tell the people who you are for those, if there's anyone who doesn't know what you do, which I don't think that that's possible, but let them know what you do, your background a little bit. Tell us a little bit of your story before we get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, sure. So I am originally from Harlem. I rep Harlem all day. I love Harlem. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, so y'all seen the movies, right? But here I am. So I moved to Charlotte in 2011. Oh my gosh, so 9 years. It's been 9 years since I've been here.
9 years.
And so my background originally was in marketing and communications, specifically PR. I did entertainment PR for a number of years. And then I shifted to nonprofit marketing communications. And so that led me to working at some really great organizations here in Charlotte and in New York. And I did that for a while, and it was great and it was fun. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the nonprofit sector, the good things and the not so good things, and I feel like that was really the touchstone to me, getting my voice and just being a lot more outspoken. So in particular, I worked at a Levine Museum of the New South here in Charlotte, and I was towards the end marketing communications manager. And so that really taught me a lot about just social justice, inequalities, equity, all of that good stuff. All the buzzwords that they talk about now, right?
All the good stuff.
Right, but the work around it, the history around it. So that's, that was great. But in 2013, I found myself in a situation that I totally did not expect to be in. And that was a domestic violence situation. And so I met someone who I thought was great and amazing, but he was not. And over the course of nearly 3 years, I experienced a lot of abuse, physical, mental, emotional, and financial abuse, even spiritual abuse. It was crazy. So, but domestic violence wasn't new to me. Right, at all. It wasn't new to me. Growing up, I saw a lot of domestic violence in my home, directly and indirectly. So a lot of women in my family experienced domestic violence. So as a child witness, I saw it. I thought it would never be me, but it, that you always have plans and then life happens, right?
Right.
And so, but I experienced that for about 3 years, and then I finally said enough was enough, and I took the steps to escape. That was a big deal for me. I had just kind of moved to Charlotte. It was, I didn't really have that many friends. I can count I didn't know a lot of people too much or whatever. Right. So the circumstances was ideal for that situation, honestly. Family wasn't really around, things like that. So 2013, I left. I was just like, this is it. This is enough. But it wasn't easy. It wasn't an easy escape at all. There was a lot of trials and tribulations, and almost trials, like literally, so, literally, but it changed me in a good way. It definitely changed me in a good way because I found that this was going to be my path, to help other survivors. And yeah, so this kind of leads me to where I am today.
That is incredible. Now, I got to say, I want to back up a little bit. We don't always ask what prompted folks to make that decision to leave, because it's definitely a process for folks. Mm-hmm. And what was it for you? What was that moment?
Yeah. So, it's funny. Sometimes I hesitate to say like what was the catalyst for it because it can seem very superficial to some people. But the catalyst was he wasn't paying his bill, part of the bills. Like he wasn't contributing financially. And financial abuse is a huge part of domestic violence. And so he would do things like withhold money if I wasn't acting in a way that he thought I should act, if I wasn't responding in a way that he thought I should respond. And seeing as though at the time I was working part-time, I wasn't sure like how I would be able to survive. So I think that was a big part of me staying for a really long time because I just wasn't sure, and yet that was the turning point where I was just like, you know what, you're not even contributing. And on top of everything else that I'm dealing with, the name calling, the physical abuse, the mental and emotional abuse, on top of that, you're not even contributing. And like, it's kind of that thing, like, I can do bad by my damn self, right? And so that's really where I was at that point. Like, look, I'm not going to keep dealing with this. So that was a catalyst of me saying enough was enough, was the financial abuse, just not paying and not supporting and, not helping around.
That's an interesting point because I don't think we talk enough about financial abuse within intimate partner violence and domestic abuse as a whole. Let's talk a little bit about that. What is financial abuse? How does it affect folks? And how does it keep people in a situation?
Yeah. So financial abuse is any form of like withholding finances. So that can mean like the abuser will not pay his portion of the bills. They may stop a victim from working. They may cause the victim from losing their job because of the experiences, whether they're calling out, whether they're, all types of stuff like that. It could be control of the bank account. And so the person who's experiencing it doesn't have access to the bank accounts, right? Putting them on a budget, or taking their check, like even if they're working, like taking their check, or even just like not allowing them to work, not, just hindering their way of supporting themselves. And so it happens in 99%, 94, between 94 and 95%, 99% of domestic violence relationships experience some form of financial and economic abuse. So it's huge.
That is that's a really big percentage. Yeah. Like that's a lot because if you don't have the money or the access, you can't leave easily, right? Like it stops you. It's a barrier. In addition to everything else that's going on. Right. Yeah. So let's talk about Black women specifically. When I think about the poster children for domestic abuse, like even here in Charlotte, you see, very well-meaning organizations. I'm not taking anything away from all of the domestic violence or DV nonprofits that are out there. But when I think about it, and even when you think about like the movies of the week and like the Lifetime movies and like all the stuff, it's a very different look. It's the white face. I think of white women being subjugated and, in these situations and everybody feeling very wanting to help, like trying to get them out. But I don't see the Black and brown faces as prevalent. And I know that the rates are high and we're not talking about it. So have you seen that discrepancy with helping and supporting Black women specifically?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I intentionally developed a whole entire presentation around it for domestic violence organizations to like, you know, really get deep into that. And so the statistics support that more effort needs to be given to supporting Black women. 2.5 to 3 times they are more likely to be murdered by their partners. White women. That is a lot. 3 times more likely. That's scary stuff, right? And yet, again, most of the organizations are white women led. Most of them are not concentrated to supporting Black women. Most of them, marketing in general, you know, my marketing background is always there. And so even their marketing isn't there to support Black women. The counselors aren't necessarily Black women. I was lucky that the counselor that I did receive through the local organization here in Charlotte was a Black woman, and she was amazing. But that is not always the case throughout the country. And yes, statistically, we have a higher rate of domestic violence. We have a higher rate of being murdered due to domestic violence. And we are less likely to seek out support and help due to racism. So we have to address that as well.
And so I would think that that's like racism, you know, generally, and then also internalized stuff going on culturally as well, why you won't want to reach out, you know, kind of keeping everything in-house, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot, but let's, you know, we could talk about statistics and Black women and why we need support all day long, but I definitely want to get to what you've been doing specifically to advocate and support women, particularly Black women, and, you know, women who look like us, who need the help, because I think, you know, we're all talking about how this is the year of the Black woman, right? Like people are saying that that's the buzzword, you know, support Black women, do all this, but what's really happening? And at the end of the day, it seems like Black women need to support Black women. So
listen. Absolutely. Like we're the only ones that's going to save ourselves, right? And so we're the ones that have to do the work consistently. We constantly have to show up for each other. And so for me, one part of the work is working with organizations and companies that to make sure that they are supporting Black women and other people of color with their policies, procedures, and just like overall support, right? So that's one aspect of it when it comes to like consulting, and that's great. And I enjoy that work and awesome, right? But more importantly for me is how do we provide these Black women who are experiencing domestic violence support? How do we provide them with the tools that they need to escape? Because many times they want to. And so, you know, I started the Eva Lee Parker Fund, right? And the Eva Lee Parker Fund was started because I constantly saw requests on social media from Black women looking to leave. In particular, I just remember like seeing this woman who had audio and screenshots of this abuser, right? And because she was trying to leave, and like he just was, oh my gosh, it was so horrible. And so she had a GoFundMe to try to like relocate and everything. And thankfully, she was able to raise a good portion of money. But there's so many who their GoFundMes are not gonna, you know, support them.
Right.
And so especially if you're already in poverty, right? So you're in domestic violence situation, you're in poverty. What connections and access do you have to even get that support? Right.
Exactly.
And then also the organizations out here, you know, throughout the country are bombarded with needs. Right. And so for me, this also took me back to my grandmother. And so my grandmother, amazing woman, Eva Lee Parker, she raised me. She is my dad's mother, and she also is a victim of domestic violence. And I think about her, and it's why I named the fund after her, is because she was a beautiful woman, smart woman, amazing, but she also had 4 children who were kind of stair steps. And we're talking the late 50s, early 60s, right?
Mm-hmm.
And where's she going? Where's she going, right? Yeah, she has a high school education. She has some school, you know, some skills. But in the 60s, who was going to help a single Black woman with 4 children, right?
Shoot, in 2020, who's going to help?
In 2020, right. So imagine then, right? And so she stayed and she stayed and she stayed. Even though she dealt with so much, but she stayed. And so when I think about like what could have been done to help support her, right? To get her on her feet, not a handout. This is not a handout. This is to uplift. This is to give people, the Black women, the opportunity to get on their feet. Because sometimes all they need is just a little bit of support, right? It's not about being a handout. It's not about, taking care of them. This is about giving them the opportunity to think clearly about one thing so that they can focus on escaping, removing some barriers to escaping. That is a big deal. And so with the Eva Lee Parker Fund, we support Black women who are currently in domestic violence situations. Quick example, after I finally left, one of the expenses I had was my window had to get fixed because he broke into my window. He climbed into my apartment. And so I had to fix that. My landlord did not care that I was experiencing abuse. They did not care that I was constantly going to court. They did not care about any of that. They needed that window fixed. And it's so funny because I just happened to see the bill. Just recently, I found it. And it was like almost $300. Let's keep in mind, I worked part-time.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably making $20,000 a year. $300 is a lot of money.
A lot.
For trying to survive. So I wish there was a fund, someplace that I can go to say, hey, my window's broken. I left, my window's broken. Can I just get a little bit of support? And so that's what this fund is about, right? Those things that come up, the fact that we're talking about financial abuse. Sometimes you don't even have money for food. You don't have money to buy diapers or buy clothing or buy sanitary napkins, right? To keep it very transparent, I remember struggling so much with this person that I had to use paper towels for sanitary napkins. I've never told anybody that, but that is the reality. That's what I experienced. And so when people talk about why, when they ask the question, which infuriates me, why doesn't she just leave? They don't consider all of these barriers to doing so. All of these barriers. And so for me, if I can remove even one barrier, I feel like I'm giving these women hope, right? And because it takes courage to even ask for help.
Yeah.
It took courage for me to ask for help. It took courage for me to say the words, I am experiencing abuse. I am a domestic violence victim. That took courage. So to go and say, listen, this is what's going on,
Yeah, I mean, and what I like about what you've set up is it's not only about, providing that support, but it's also providing that support with dignity and not asking people 30,000 questions that are inclusive, like so evasive and condescending. And it makes it that sometimes asking for help is even a barrier, right? When you go to certain organizations and they want to know everything about you before they even give you a little bit of change. So I think that I salute you for putting something together that is easy to access.
Oh, absolutely.
So that, that's key. It's key.
So easy to access. Like, I don't ask a lot of questions. I'm not asking a lot of questions. And some of it is just, just information I want to know. So I know, like, what are these needs or whatever? Is it clothing and food? Is it transportation or whatever? And then even to the point of what platform do you need the money to be sent to, right? Sometimes, and this is no shot to nonprofits, there's barriers. They always want to write a check.
Right.
Listen, if I don't even barely have access to my account, why would I want to check?
Right, exactly.
He may have my ID. Why would I want to check? What is that going to do? That is another barrier. So no. So when people come and they asking for support, they can get their money via Cash App. They can get their money via PayPal. They can get their money via Venmo, or if they want, they can do a check. That's it. Right? We have options because we wanted to get, and then the thing is, this is instant stuff. Sometimes you don't know you're going to leave until that very moment, and you say, you know what? I'm gone. Right? I'm gone. Right? And so that's it. And, you know, a lot of it has been like getting people from one location to another. They have some place to go. They have somewhere, some person that's going to take them in, right? But they just need that transportation to get there. And yeah, some of them may even work a job. But are we really paying
you
people?
still need money. You still need the money.
Yeah. So I don't care about all of that. Just some categories of what you may need it for, how much you think you need, and what platform you want it. And how'd you hear about this? That's it. Because I want to know the reach, right? That's, again, my marketing brain for me is like, where am I reaching you? Whatever. But other
that communications is moving, right? Like, listen, you gotta know.
That's it. You know, let's remove the barriers. The easier, the better.
I love it. So you got the fund set up. It's under, I know that Sanctuary in the City is a fiscal partner with that. And they also sewed into the fund, correct?
Oh my God, yes. So Kelly, Christine, Ty, like, I'm so thankful for them. So Sanctuary of the City is an amazing nonprofit organization that offers workshops and events and programming for Black, Indigenous, people of color. And so I know one of the founders, Kelly, we're really good friends. And really, I just was talking to her about like, what is a fiscal sponsor and what can I do? Because I knew I didn't want to start a nonprofit, right? I knew that. But I knew that I want people to be able to have their tax benefits too. That's a thing.
Right.
And so I'm like, what is a fiscal sponsor? Da, da, da. So I'm telling her about this fund and I did. She was like, oh, we could totally do that for you. We can be that fiscal sponsor. And I was just like, so that part, I'm like, right, thank you. And so we jumped on a call and we're, talking logistics. And so they said, well, what is your goal? And I said, well, my goal is 10,000 by January 3rd. And they were like, no, think bigger. I'm like, they said, well, you need money to start, to start the bank account. I was like, and in my head, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like what? Maybe this isn't going to work. And they said, here, like, we're going to give you $10,000 to start. And I'm not really emotional, but I am. And I just was like, oh my goodness. So it took everything for me not to cry. I did cry, after I got in my car or whatever. And I was like, ah, but, so they sold in, they donated $10,000 to start the fund. So I didn't have to wait until January 3rd to start distributing funds, right? I didn't have to wait till then. And so I've been able to get right into it. And we launched that fund November 18th. That's when we launched it, right? And with $10,000. And so we've been able to support more than 10 Black women already.
I love that. With
some sort of funds and support. And that was over $2,000 of funds already given. So
I love that.
Right. And like, as far as like, I'm based in Charlotte, so, and this fund is not just Charlotte based. So when I saw someone say they were from Houston, I was just like, that's what I'm talking about. And the Houston Women's Center was who found them. I was just like, directed them towards me. Oh man, that was powerful. That was really powerful.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Impact and reach. So, we could be on here all day talking about stuff, but this is just the kickoff for your entire, this is the kickoff so that people know what's going on and how they can participate. And you're going to be at this all day long and forevermore. So tell everybody how they can support the fund, how they can reach you on social media, and where you'll be else today.
Yes. All right. So if you want to make a direct donation to the Eva Lee Parker Fund, you can go to the sanctuaryinthecity.org/Eva Lee Parker Fund, or you can visit my website. It's courageousshift.com. And you can follow me on all platforms. It's either going to be Courageous Shift or it's going to be I Am Melody Co. And so the rest of the day, like next up is a Twitter chat with the amazing Christine Edwards. So that's at 11. And then at 12:30, I'm on Facebook with my homegirl, who's an amazing writer, blogger, and charcuterie board creator. She's the yeah. So Ty, basically our blog is going to host a Facebook Live with me. And then at 6, I'm on Instagram with the amazing filmmaker. She's a filmmaker, she's a writer, she's a complete badass, right? Amazing Aura. And then there's also going to be last up I'm closing it out with you. I'm closing it out with you at Clubhouse, and it's going to be supporting Black women experiencing abuse. That's the room. So that's at 8:00. So I'm excited. It's a full day. And if you want, you can check my social media. I am Melody Cole or Courageous Shift, and it has a list of all of the platforms and people and times.
Love it. All right, y'all. Y'all heard it here first. Melody, my friend, my sister, I am so proud of you. And let's go. Let's get it. Let's raise that money.
Yes, let's do it. Yes. Giving Tuesday 2020. Let's do it. All right, people.
Yes. All right. See y'all soon.